Welcome to the Carter County Board of Commissioners meeting tonight, May 15, 2023. It is 6 p.m. and I call the meeting to order. Glad to see so many of you here tonight. This is great. I want the public to come out and be heard and to learn what's going on all the time. So thank you for being here. At this time, I'll call to the podium Sheriff Fraley, our EMA Director, Billy Harold, was called out due to a bad accident in my district, actually. So Sheriff Fraley's going to step in his place for our emergency egress plan.
I've got some big shoes to fill for Director Harold. I'm going to try to do the best I can with this. There are AEDs on both floors at the end of this hallway and the first floor. And also in the event of a fire or a fire alarm, then everyone will need to exit out the front entrance, go down the steps and go to the back parking lot so you don't interfere with the fire department if they have to show up. I hope I've covered everything. If not, get on Billy next month.
Thank you, Sheriff Fraley. All right, please sign in your devices right now for the roll call.
Sorry, Chair, it's not allowing me to sign.
I'm neither. I think he's the only one who's not here. So, yeah, she'll count you all present. So, everyone is here, public just don't know, except one commissioner from District 7. Okay, Commission, you've seen the agenda since last Friday. I have posted no changes to the agenda, so the floor is open for a motion to approve. Okay, we have a motion from Lisa Childress and a second by Danny Deal. Is there any discussion on the agenda for tonight? All right, let's vote. Yes. Okay, the agenda is approved. Please stand at this time for prayer by Commissioner Willie Campbell and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Thomas Prophet.
Gracious Heavenly Father God, Lord, as we gather again, Lord, give you praise and honor for this day, Lord, that you give each and every one of us, Lord. God, we thank you for your love, mercy, and grace upon each one of us. God, we do thank you for answering prayer, standing on the right hand, making intercession for us. God, today we do pray, Lord. Thank you for your precious Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross that we could have life and have it more abundantly one day. God, we know that you went away and prepared a place for each one of us, God. Lord, we do pray, Lord, that you keep us, Lord, and watch over us, keep us safe. Lord, we do pray for this commission board with your unseen hands, God. Keep them up on us. Lord, we do pray, God, and thank you for answering prayers for me, Lord. You brought me through, Lord, and I appreciate the ones that prayed for me. God, tonight we give you honor and praise and ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Attention, please, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Layton.
Thank you. At this time, we would like to give honor and show gratitude to our elected and appointed officials. If that's you, will you please stand? It's good to have a high number in the house tonight. Thank you all for what you do for us all the time. Look over the minutes from the April 17th regular meeting. The floor is open to approve those. Excuse me, I don't know if your all's computers are working, but mine, give me just a second. Okay, I'm with you now. The motion is made by Aaron Frazier, seconded by Kelly Collins. Does anyone see any corrections that need to be made? Okay, if not, we're voting to approve the agenda, the minutes from April. Yes. Okay, the minutes are approved from April 2023. The clerk's office will now read to us the names of those up for notaries and bonds approval.
Rukins, Carrie D. Lee, Charlotte Sally, Kelly Hughes, Morgan Powell, Richard Laney, Sarah Cheek, Wendy D. Peters, Michael G. Blair, Mary Evelyn Buck, Linda S. Birchfield, Lori J. Birchfield, Kathy Barnett, Samantha Edney, Jane Duvall, Donna Newell, Cassie Renee Robbins, Pamela Duvall, Amy Gentry, Catherine N. Sexton, Veronica Starr Nave, Sherry DeLoach, Carmela Price, Stephen S. Tester, Ashley Bass, and Brandon L. Instead.
Floor is open. Motion is made by Dr. Robert Acuff, seconded by Commissioner Carl Smith. Any discussion? Okay, please vote to approve these salaries and bonds. Motion passes. We will now invite any member of the public wishing to speak to the podium. Just please enter through the swinging doors about midway in the courtroom there and come to the podium. State your name and address. You will have 5 minutes to speak. And I think when it's 5 or 10 seconds left, there's a sound, but it's soft. I don't know if you'll hear it. But at the end of the 5 minutes, if you haven't stopped, I'll call on you and let you know that time is up. So who would like to go first this evening?
Commissioners, I'd like to speak to you tonight as a member of the agricultural community of our county. Farming and forestry workers have two of the most dangerous jobs that there is in our country. I have a concern that the loss of services at our hospital that have been announced is going to hurt the care that we could maybe receive in a timely manner for a serious injury or a serious illness. I appreciate and support anything that y'all do to work with Ballot and other entities to make sure that we are able to keep the level of care that we have available. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, will you please state your name?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We know you, but do it anyway.
Michael Nidifer, 1226 Blue Springs Road, Elizabethton, Tennessee. And it's 21 miles and 27 red lights between my house and Johnson City Medical Center Hospital.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Commissioner, we have public comments, okay. Nobody else, we're gonna move on, going once. Going twice, all right, we're moving on. We will now hear a resolution to honor one of our long faithful law enforcement men in our county. So we've got Commissioner Lisa Childers coming forward, and she'll make any other introductions that need to be made.
Join me at the podium, please. You can stand, and then if you feel like you need to sit, feel free. Lean on that chair if you'd like. Who has dedicated a lifetime of public service to the citizens of Carter County, Tennessee. 1966, Mr. Henson began his career in law enforcement. He took the oath of office, pinned on his badge, and reported to work. Mr. Henson's first position with the Sheriff's Department was dispatcher and jailer. Over the course of his career, Mr. Henson would serve under 5 different administrations, held various ranks, including deputy, sheriff, lieutenant, and patrol captain. Ultimately, Mr. Henson would serve as sheriff of Carter County for a total of 10 years, holding the office from 1996 to 2006. Mr. Henson is currently a constable in the 6th District of Carter County and has served the community in that role since 2012. Mr. Henson has proven time and time again his commitment and dedication to protecting the citizens of Carter County, to include his efforts during the response to the natural disaster known as the flood of 1998 that occurred in Roan Mountain. Mr. Henson's quick and decisive actions saved many lives that night. Mr. Henson also is known throughout the community for his random acts of kindness that went above and beyond his scope of law enforcement duties. Mr. Henson, throughout his career, has maintained a servant leadership attitude exhibiting 5 key characteristics: valuing people, humility, listening, trust, and caring. At this time, I would like to invite Constable Bob Carroll to join me at the podium. He has known and worked with Mr. Henson for many years.
Well, I was asked to say a few words on behalf of y'all. Where do you begin? He is the true picture of what a law enforcement officer should be. Whenever you had a problem as a private citizen or as another officer, you could go to John. And he would always give you good advice, or he would come and do everything he could to try to help you. When he was sheriff, there was many times that I would answer a call as a constable when the deputies would be busy at 2 o'clock in the morning. And him acting sheriff at that point would show up on the scene. You'd turn around and he'd be standing there to back you up. I've seen him take money out of his pocket to help people that needed it. I've seen him provide wood for people that needed it. And during the flood, he called on all the constables and we responded. There was a lot of lives probably saved because of what he did. I consider him a dear friend of mine. I rode with him when I was first elected constable. And boy, I'll tell you, I had some quick rides. He taught me a lot. But one other thing I'll say about him, if he had a warrant for your arrest and showed up at your door, you'd be better off just to get in the car and go. That's the truth. Put up a fight. But as I said, I consider him a very dear friend of mine, a close friend. He's like family. And it's been an honor to know him and to work with him. And it's an honor to stand here beside of him tonight as he has presented this proclamation that I feel he is so deserving. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. John, thank you for being my father.
Thank you for being back.
Yes, ma'am. This is a resolution honoring John Henson for his service to the citizens of Carter County and for more than a half century of law enforcement service. Whereas John Henson is a lifelong resident of Carter County who was raised in the public community. Whereas Mr. Henson served his community and the citizens of Carter County in various law enforcement capacities for well over 50 years. Whereas Mr. Henson began working at the Carter County Sheriff's Department in 1966, at a time when officers were required to supply their own badge, uniform, weapon, and vehicle to serve. Whereas Mr. Henson served in various roles with the Sheriff's Department over the years, including dispatcher, jailer, and road deputy, and he ultimately attained the rank of patrol captain prior to being elected as sheriff. Whereas Mr. Henson was initially elected to serve as the sheriff of Carter County to complete the remaining term of Paul Peters following his resignation. He was thereafter elected to serve 2 full terms as sheriff, serving in that capacity for a total of 10 years. Whereas during his time as sheriff, Mr. Henson led the response during the 1998 Round Mountain flood, going door to door, warning people of the wall of water that was coming down the mountain, which undoubtedly saved many lives. Whereas following his years as the sheriff of Carter County, Mr. Henson briefly served as deputy in Unicoi County before returning home to serve as a Carter County constable in the 6th District, a position which he still holds today. Whereas during his law enforcement career, Mr. Henson has often been known to go above and beyond his duties to do things such as deliver groceries to families in need, to make sure the elderly and shut-ins had firewood for winter. Whereas throughout his adult life, Mr. Henson has demonstrated his servant's heart and his willingness to serve and protect the citizens of Carter County and his community. Whereas it's appropriate for the Board of County Commissioners to honor citizens whose selfless public service has benefited their community and citizens of Carter County in significant ways. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners for Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this 15th day of May, 2023, the lawful quorum of said board being present and the majority voting in the affirmative. The board hereby honors John Henson for his selfless sacrifices he has made during his life in service to others, and especially throughout his 50-plus years of service as a law enforcement officer in Carter County.
Okay, so the floor is open for a motion to approve this resolution. Motion is made by Jason Clausen, seconded by Dr. Robert Baker. Is there any discussion before the vote? Okay, let's vote on the resolution. Motion passes by all. Mr. John Henson.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
In closing, for some of you that may not know, this week is National Law Enforcement Week, so it is a wonderful time for us to honor our law enforcement heroes. If you have or if you are currently serving in a law enforcement capacity, please stand and be recognized.
Thank you, Commissioner Childers. We will now have a presentation honoring middle college graduates. Mayor Patty Whitty will be coming forward to do this.
I'm going to ask Dr. McCord and Dr. Carpenter to come up.
What I'd like to do today is recognize the graduates of the Middle College Program. That's a new program here in Carter County. We have students who are graduating with their high school diploma and their associate's degree from Northeast State. I'd like for Dr. McCord to just say a few words about the program and the rigorous program and what all it takes, how proud we are of these guys.
Absolutely, but first of all, let me say this. I love being here. This is my second time in my 55 years on earth to be at the Carter County Commission, and good people, good purpose. It's just wonderful to be here. The invitation. So middle college means that you walk across the stage at Northeast State with an associate's before you finish your high school degree. What a head start. That allows students, first of all, to get engaged early. And when a young person is engaged, a lot of good things happen, a lot of bad things don't. And also it just gives you a huge head start when you're going into college as a junior when you're 18 years old. In terms of the rigor, it's just like any other student. It is hard and you have to commit yourself to it, but it is a really, really good thing. And Carter County's leading the way between what's going to go on at the new site, with Northeast State and TCAT coming together, which once again, without Carter County, by the way, so you know, first time in the state that's happened through the leadership of this commission and your mayor. And secondly, I got to put on, we had a ceremony that I got to put on these tassels. Students from Hampton and Cloudland and Happy Valley were the only high school there's in Bristol City. But other than that, that's the only ones that had finished their associate's degree. So leading, and Northeast State's really appreciative to be a part of it.
And I'll let Dr. Carpenter speak on his wonderful students and the great job Carter County School Systems is doing.
We're very appreciative of Northeast State, making that partnership. I think he summed it up really well, that our kids are leaving high school ahead of other students, and that's what we want. So, you know, it's all coming together, and I think we're going to be able to turn out students who are going to help Carter County, the economy, just in every facet. So I'm really proud of these kids. I know every single one of them pretty much personally. So I'm proud of them, and I know the hard work that's went in. You know, not everybody that started made it, but the ones who had the dedication and stuck with it, you know, they'll get the payoff, and I'm really proud of them.
Thank you to both for your leadership and what you've done for our community. We had 31, I think, graduate this program is what I've got. And then we also had on the TCAT side of the house, which is a new program on the middle college side of TCAT that we just had implemented. We have 6 individuals who are graduating with their welding certificate out of the middle college program. So we want to recognize those individuals tonight also. And I want to say thank you to the parents and the guardians and the support staff that's been with these children through these. These guys are going to be workforce ready. And that's what we have to do. We've got to get our children workforce ready so they can enter into the economy and prevent the negatives and start turning their negatives into positives. And so these children are workforce ready. They're going to be going out into our communities, getting jobs, raising families. And in turn, we hope to see them live, work, and play here and reimburse our economy as viable citizens to Carter County and Northeast Tennessee. So I just want to give these guys a round of applause, and I'm going to call your name out. If you would come up for a certificate and recognition by myself and the Carter County Commission. April Stone, Cloudland High School. Haley Simmerly, Cloudland High School. Melina Robertson, Cloudland High School. Julius Gage McKinney, Cloudland High School. Dalton Fish, Cloudland High School. Hayden Clark, Cloudland High School. Birchfield, Cloudland High School. Ella Benfield, Cloudland High School. Caitlin Baldwin, Cloudland High School. Lucy Lansford, Cloudland High School. Haley King, Cloudland High School. Hannah Perkins, Unaka High School. Kylie Blevins, Unaka High School. Happy Valley High School. Happy Valley High School. Graceland Buchanan, Happy Valley High School. Abigail Willis, Hampton High School. Hampton High School. High School. Veronica Story, Hampton High School. Brianna Rouse, Hampton High School. Shania Pierce, Hampton High School. High School. High School. Cody Hicks, Hampton High School. Christopher Healy, Hampton High School. Delaney Griffin, Hampton High School. Aaron Cole, Hampton High School. Caden Beckles, Hampton High School. Jaden Brooks, Hampton High School. School. This next group is our TCAP Middle College, and these are our welding guys that we're very proud of. The skilled trades arena is something that we want to see very successful in Carter County. That's what's going to improve our workforce. Paul Brum at Cloudland High School. Luke Johnson, Cloudland High School. Hall, Cloudland High School. Cloudland High School. High School. Trent Woody, Cloudland High School. Students and all the hard work that you put in, it shows, and we're very appreciative of it. This middle college program is going to be a huge success for Carter County, especially with the $40 million state-of-the-art facility that's to be going in Carter County. It's a one-of-a-kind with the largest infusion of money coming into it from the state. So we're very proud of what we're producing here. This is ultimately the future of every community. This is how we build our communities with these young lives, and I'm very proud of them. And I want to say thank you to the parents and thank you to the commission for continuing to support them. And thank you to both of our educators here that continue to support Carter County. I'm very proud, and I can get one more round of applause for them.
Next is your report. Did you want to say up here?
I just got a couple of things, and we'll just look through those real quick. I've got a couple of appointments that I need the commission to approve with our utilities for Hampton Utility.
Hold on just a second. We'll wait on the exit. Thank you.
Update.
All right, now we can-
I just need to get a motion to approve, an appointment for Hampton Utilities Board. James Fritz is the recommendation from Hampton Utility.
Actually, you just appoint.
They got approved, right?
No, county commission doesn't have a vote unless you don't pick somebody.
Well, then,
You have to enter it in the.
oh, we did go to, okay.
You-
I'm going to appoint James Fritz. That's the recommendation from the Hampton Utility. And then the first utility district is Philip Taylor. That's the recommendation from the first utility district. Separate. James Fritz, yes, for the Hampton Utility.
There's not gonna be a vote.
There's not a vote. It just needs to be entered into the official record. First utility district's Philip Taylor.
All right, we're going into committee reports. First up is Budget Committee. Chairman Aaron Frazier.
All right, folks. First up is a motion to approve Carter County 911 contract as written for a one-year contract, $265,885.
Motion to approve, seconded by Danny Deal. So we got a motion by Frazier, second by Deal. Is there any discussion on this one? Yes.
Madam Chair, since our meeting last, I was told that was a 4-year contract. I don't know.
No, that's an upcoming contract. This one is a one-year contract. Am I correct, Attorney Harden?
Yeah, 911 is a 1-year contract. The EMS is.
We'll make sure. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let's vote on this one.
Madam Chair, I'm going to have to enter a voice vote.
Yes, sir.
Mr. T. McIntyre.
Yeah.
You gentlemen just want to,
Aye. Yes.
Thank you, guys. Next up, motion to approve the EMS contract as written, $777,470.21. And this is, as we just mentioned a moment ago, a 4-year contract. This is this is the total every year for the next 4 years.
okay, so, on the screen it's showing Chairman Frazier, the Angie Odom, please provide, and I guess before they put your name in, and the second would be Steve Burrow. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All right, let's vote on this one.
Aye.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Next up, motion to appropriate $20,000 for the Carter County Emergency Communications District
with funds coming from the unassigned fund balance. A little history on this one is the contract was submitted and approved at a certain amount, but then the funding that went into the budget was not set appropriately. So it's a specific amount that is short. We're transferring the money over to pay the last quarterly payment on the contract.
Okay, motion is seconded by Julie Gwynn. Any questions? Please vote.
McIntyre.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to accept the Sheriff's Department Forester contract. This is the Forestry Service paying us for monitoring specific locations around the county. I think it's in the contract, a list of locations to ask us to patrol, basically. It's like the Blue Hole and some other remote locations like that. There's one forestry agent for pretty much all the first districts, so they're stretched pretty thin.
Okay, for the record, it will show Danny Deal made the motion and Gary Kemp seconded. Any questions on this? All right, we're voting.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve insurance changes for county employees.
A motion is made by Chairman Aaron Frazier, seconded by Danny Deal. Are there any questions on this? We have some of our insurance broker family here with us tonight to address your questions if you have any.
What was the changes?
We are changing Plan 1 to, well, actually, Colton, would you like to come and address it so that he will use correct insurance lingo that I am still not familiar with completely?
That's what we're here for, right?
It's yours.
Good evening, everyone. So what we're going to be doing is we're taking the option 1 and we're going to be turning that into an HRA account. So that's a health reimbursement account. So realistically, the benefits that have come to the Carter County employees, that has always been a very rich option 1. On paper, it's going to look a little bit different for them, but how the plan itself works still gives them that $500 deductible and the $1,300 out-of-pocket max. There's going to be a lot of education from our staff that's going to go in behind it to make sure that everyone's comfortable with those changes and making sure that leave no stone unturned and everybody's satisfied with their benefits. Option 2, so traditionally, I guess over the last couple of years, we've had 3 options. There's been 2 of the PPO plans, and then that option 3 has been a high deductible health plan. What we've done this year is we've taken that option 1 to the HRA, and then we brought in 2 high deductible health plans. There's still the employee-only county contribution that will be going in to options 2 and 3. That's really the changes on that.
Nobody's doctors are changing or anything like that?
Yeah, we're still going to be with Blue Cross. There's no changes there. And I mean, if anybody's got questions, as far, if you guys had any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to address them. And especially the employees, they know that they can count on us if they need anything. Call us, reach out, text, any time of day, any time of night. We're always happy to help and serve.
Thank you, Colton.
Thanks for making the drive, guys.
Hang on just a second, let's make sure, does anybody else have a question before they leave the arena?
Madam Chair, I don't have a question, but I'd just like to tell before the commission that our insurance broker, which is Sequoia, they represent their employees of, has saved us a tremendous amount of revenue or funds, and the cost of our employee insurance, after everything we've went through this past year, this nation, this state, this region, this county, will be paying less. Each individual employee of this county will be being paid less for their premium because 8 years ago, we had one insurance policy to offer the employee. And it was at a cost of where nobody could have a family plan because it was more than they brought in totally of their income. With the corporation and hard work of the financial management group, in cooperation with Sequoia, we went through with the interviews for new brokers, and they were selected. They went to work immediately, and they have the first year. I'm going by memory, and this is as dangerous as a cock gun. Yeah, there was a savings of close to a little bit over $1 million, wasn't it? Between what they presently had, which is almost nothing, the 3 different types of level of plans of insurance for our employees, where they had a choice of what they could offer their family for the income that they received. And the experience that I served in the commission when the previous broker was here, and I'm not going to mention their names, was I just drove by the door, dropped off the packet, drove on down and talked to nobody. And it was poor representation. And at the time, there was no work on it. But I want hats off to you guys. The taxpayers of the county is going to see the results of your fine work because that's part of the matrix in our budget year, which we're in the middle of, and we're fighting for revenues and savings where people of our county don't have to take it out of their pocket. Thank you very much.
And then one other really quick thing. I wish that Tim could have been here tonight. He's in Texas, unfortunately, but that's what I said. So Sequoia Group we're going through some changes. The level of service is going to increase. We're only getting stronger. A couple of months back, we took on a partnership with One Digital, and I'll let Aaron kind of walk through that, but the resources that Sequoia Group had and that we're going to just multiplied infinite. I'm really excited about the opportunity to become One Digital, and also just be able to provide even more, not only for Carolyn and the staff for Carter County, but also the employees. So I'll let Aaron talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, I won't spend too much time on this, but so One Digital is a national brokerage firm. We carry very good agreements with all the carriers, national carriers in Tennessee. Well, nationally, they've got 3,500 employees, offices all around the country. And then within Tennessee, our largest client has 15,000 employees. We also have many public entities as part of our clients as well. And we cover all the way from Memphis up here to Northeast Tennessee. And with that partnership with the Sequoia Group, as you mentioned, a lot of our resources that we have available nationally, we will be able to deliver that locally here, which we've already benefited from in Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. We'll be able to bring that up here in Northeast Tennessee as well.
Okay, last call. Any questions? All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for traveling up here and for all the work you do to save us money.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
So again, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, let's vote.
Dr. Acuff?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes. Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to increase the landfill's interim director's pay by $3,750 to cover pay through May 31st and back pay from April the 18th. Funds are to come from the unassigned fund balance for the landfill.
A motion is made by Chairman Frazier, seconded by Gary Kemp. We're open for discussion. All right, if there's no questions, let's vote.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up is a motion that made by the landfill committee and approved by the budget committee to pay up to $1,000 with money coming from the travel line item to pay for registration and expenses for interim director's landfill certification class.
Seconded by Danny Deal. Any questions?
This basically is a backup for the foreseeable future.
Okay, let's vote.
Dr. Rico?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve County Fund Budget Amendment 101-9, items 1 through 14, in the amount of $78,449.74, with $800 coming from reserve accounts and $9,937 coming from unassigned fund balance.
Seconded by Todd Smith. Any questions on this one?
I don't have the actual amendment in front of me. This is just one of the reconciliation ones. This is one of the reconciliation. Yes, by and large, this is a reconciliation one. We're filling up some line items for the end of, for end of year and reducing others down if necessary to make sure that there's no shortages in any of these funds at the end of the year, which would be a
Okay, if there are no questions, we're voting.
Dr. Rico?
Aye.
McIntyre?
yes. Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve solid waste fund budget amendment, budget amendment 116-6, item number 1, in the amount of $2,500 with no funds coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Okay, please vote.
Aye.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Next up, motion to approve highway fund budget amendment 134, items 1 and 2, in the amount of $106,351 with no funds coming from this fund's unassigned fund balance. Again, reconciliation for end of year.
Okay, motion is seconded by Angie Odom. Any questions? Please vote.
Dr. Rico?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Next up, motion to approve general purpose school fund, budget amendment 141-10, items number 1 through 8, in the amount of $218,640.70, with no funds coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Motion is seconded by Donnie Cable. Any discussion? Please vote.
Dr. Rico?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve school federal projects fund, budget amendment 142-11, items 1 through 9, in the amount of $464,009.99, with no funds coming from this fund's unassigned fund balance.
Motion seconded by Kelly Collins. Questions? All right, we're voting.
Dr. Rico?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve food service budget, budget amendment 143-5, items 1 and 2, in the amount of $9,000 with no funds coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Seconded by Julie Glenn. Okay, vote.
Okay.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve Head Start Fund, budget amendment 145-6, item 1, in the amount of $2,850 with no funds coming from the unassigned fund balance.
Motion is seconded by Donnie Cagle. Commissioners with no request to speak, let's vote.
Ray
Aye.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Next up, motion to approve monetary donations to the animal shelter in the amount of $7,754. Close.
Motion is seconded by Lisa Childress. Let's vote.
Ray
Aye.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Lastly, motion to approve non-monetary donations to the animal shelter in the amount of $804.89.
Seconded by Donnie Cagle. Please vote.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Next budget committee meeting is this Thursday and then the following Thursday as well. Feel free to show up. Bye-bye.
Especially as they get close to presenting a budget to the public and to this full board, please try to attend those meetings. It's very important. All right, let's see if we can get through building and grounds. Chairman McIntyre.
I'm just gonna go ahead and do it from right here. We only got one thing. I'd like to just put in the form of a motion to approve a resolution and lease agreement with SkyBest Communication for the use of Sluter property for broadband project infrastructure.
Motion is seconded by Todd Smith. Does anyone have a question about this? All right, let's vote.
Dr. Ray
Aye.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Okay, we did that so quick, I want to keep going. Financial management committee, Chairman Johnson.
Madam Chair, if you will, I'll stay where I'm at. I'm seeking a motion approval to amend the purchasing policy, which is in addition to the section 2.1, page 38. And the amended policy, the Carter County Financial Policy and Procedures Manual. After you have reviewed that, I'm sure you have heard of it. On one side of the page is the existent, the current. On the back side of it is the one proposed, and the proposal is recommended by the state auditing auditors we had for this previous year's audit. And it is for the purpose of establishing the same policy for the school board. Any questions?
Okay, we have a second by Aaron Frazier. Does anyone have a question? Vote please.
Dr. Ray
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
No.
Okay, motion passes. Nominating committee, Chairman Donnie Cagle.
We have one appointment to fill on the Equalization Board. At this time, we're going to take nominations from the floor.
Commissioner Cable, I'd like to nominate Michael Odom.
Any other nominations? See any other nominations? Mr. Odom in the room.
Oh. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to speak.
We need to have a motion for this.
Well, let's ask him if he wants to say anything.
I think he does. You don't say anything.
Yes, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to do this. I'm getting ready to retire after serving Carter County 30 years in teaching in school. And I'm just looking for another opportunity to be able to serve the county and the citizens of this county.
Thank you, sir. If there's only that one nomination, we can take a motion to. Okay, yeah, it just came in early, so I wanted to make sure that's what you meant for it. Okay, so we have a motion to elect, by Julie Wynn and a second by Danny Neal. Is there any further discussion needed?
All I was going to say is it just a friendly amendment to amend the motion to cease nominations and elect by acclamation.
So Julie, we want to accept that change to the motion, and then you accept the second. All right. So the motion is to cease nominations and to elect by acclamation. All right, please vote.
You'll have to clear me out.
I apologize, sir. Sure.
McIntyre.
Yes.
Okay, we are at the end of our committee reports unless there's a committee not listed that would like to give a short report. Okay, let's take a 10-minute recess.
Yeah.
Hello, commissioners. Let's settle back in.
28 years. I know.
Talk to you after.
Sorry, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on I put it on my phone.
Today, I mixed it.
We'll pick up where we left off on our agenda. We are at number 15, which is the county attorney report.
All right. As usual, I'll have a written report in the minutes that you all can read for the activities during May. But the general litigation update, I generally give the litter regulation cases are still progressing as every month. 2 new cases filed this month. We had 1 judgment through a court hearing obtained this month, and then 2 other cases resolved through compliance of the property owners and agreement holders. The final settlement for the TDEC fine assessment that we've talked about was entered this past month, so that is completed, other than the fine payment, which is in process. There was 1 new, I guess you call it new case filed this month in U.S. District Court in Greenville. It was filed actually months and months ago, but the gentleman on his 4th or 5th amendment has named some officers with the Carter County Sheriff's Office finally who exist. And so his case is progressing. It's been referred to the insurance carrier, and I do not foresee liability in that case. But that is Lanny Markland versus Carter County Sheriff's Office that was progressing now. Other than that, on litigation generally, of course, I'll answer any questions anybody has privately about litigation, or if we need a session on that, and I don't see that this month. Other than that, like I said, my general updates in the report. The only other thing there's a couple other things I want to cover this month. A couple of things that will be vote, but generally just some bills of interest that were passed this last legislative session, specifically relevant to county or county government. And I'll provide this to anybody who wants it, but Public Chapter 230 actually increases per diem amount that can be paid to those folks serving on the records committee. We really don't have anybody that asks for that per diem reimbursement now, to my knowledge. It's not a salary, but it can be a per diem each day. And that went up from $25 to $150 if anybody's interested in that. There was a bill, that became Public Chapter 207, which specifically cleans up a lot of issues about county officials' bonds, and the fact that we can have a countywide insurance policy in the amount of $400,000 that covers the bond of all county officials, essentially, unless you all individually ask for a higher bond amount, which, as you recall, we did this past year with the trustee's office. And that applies to each and every officer in the county, essentially, that they still have to sign their individual bonds, but the blanket insurance policy covers it, the county pays for it, and that policy has to be recorded with the clerk and the register of deeds office, which is kind of clearing up some questions that existed before the new law. The first thing I read is effective immediately right now. These new laws about bonds go into effect July 1. Also going into effect July 1 is new requirements for county constables who run in an election for the first time after July 1. So it will be anybody that's appointed to office after that date, or anybody who runs in the next election. They now have to supply an affidavit from a licensed psychologist who has performed a cognitive and psychological test and certifies that they are mentally and cognitively fit to perform the duties of constable. without that, they're not qualified to run or to be appointed. I believe that might be an issue coming up soon, so keep that in mind. Three more relevant things for us specifically. Code Chapter 300 now requires public comments. Never have before in state law required public comments at our meetings, only for specifically advertised public hearings for the budget. But now every meeting must have a reserved period for public comment. We do have that now for the most part, and we have rules related to that in our current procedures. If that's something you all want to develop more, we have the opportunity to do that. Through Rules and Bylaws Committee would be a place to start, but this goes into effect July 1. If we want to have further limitations or any different rules than we have now, as long as it's on the agenda and citizens know that they can comment, that's all that's required. If we're going to require advance notice and things of that nature, we'll have to change our procedures. So that's general interest. The one that's going to be a little bit of a change for us is Code Chapter number 213, which requires that the agendas for the meeting be published to the public at no charge, at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting, any meeting that we have in the county. This bill started out requiring also that the public be supplied all the materials, so all the packets and everything that you all get. That did not make it in the final bill. All that did make it is the agenda. So going forward, and this is in effect right now, as a matter of fact, it did not delay until July 1. So going forward, every meeting we have, whether it's a committee or a full commission, we need to get that separately typed agenda to the clerk. It has to be available for the public to pick up if they want to at no charge, at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We can accomplish this by putting it on the website when we get the new website or get to a point where we can more user-friendly interact with the website, get these on there. But like I said, agendas only. It also started out trying to circumvent amendments of the agenda, but that did not make the final bill. So as long as you're not circumventing the spirit of the law by leaving things off the agenda purposefully and then amending it to add them, then we'll be in compliance with the law. But the agendas do have to reasonably describe what's going to be considered. So no old business, new business. We have to actually put on the agenda items that are going to be considered and voted on. Like I said, that's in effect right now. So starting next month, we do that. The last item in the legislative update is the passage of Code Chapter 337, which is Juneteenth. June 19th every year is now a state holiday, Juneteenth. My understanding is that's going to go into effect this year. It's effective right now. I believe it's going to be a state paid holiday this year. As you all may or may not know, generally the county policy is to follow the state holidays. However, we do not have to. We don't have to give any paid holidays. But as for now, we essentially give all the state approved holidays except for Columbus Day. We don't have Columbus Day as a county paid holiday. But other than that, we specifically mirror the state. So that's a decision for you all to make. June 19th is county commission meeting day. It's next month on Monday. We've already adopted, of course, the county paid holidays for the year. There's a cost associated with that. Of course, if folks are off, they're paid for their day off, but folks such as the sheriff's office personnel, they would get double time or a paid holiday addition working. So there is a cost associated with that. If you did choose to approve that this year, we're at the end of the fiscal year. So I assume that would create some problems, but that's out of my purview. But your all's decision would be whether or not you're going to officially make this a county paid holiday, and or whether, if not, you're going to move the county commission meeting scheduled for June 19th. So that's the first action item for you all.
Can somebody tell me what Juneteenth is?
It's supposed to commemorate the official end of slavery in 1865, when the last folks in Texas who did not know were advised that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed and slavery no longer existed. So that's what it commemorates. It happened in Texas. It was a federal holiday 2 years ago. It's now a state holiday.
Acknowledge Kwanzaa. Paid holiday.
We do not, no, sir. So we can't control what the state does. That's their prerogative. You all have control on the county level, whether that's recognized as a holiday here.
Are you sure that the state is counting this as a holiday?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I've got the actual bill signed by the governor. So it was as of, I believe, May 5th, and it says effective immediately. So from what I saw today, I believe it's going to be a state paid holiday for state employees this year. So it's up to you all.
Well, you know, that's going, since that's in June, that's going to affect this fiscal year budget, because that, of course, that's unforeseen until they pass legislation. But we're operating in red. And, you know, in consideration of the benefit packages that this commission has granted to all of our employees, which we are above just about everybody in the upper East Tennessee in benefits.
Yeah, but had another holiday in between Memorial Day and July 4th, a quick succession of 3 holidays there.
But particularly since you go in double time with other departments, because if you do adopt that, that's a big price tag. And that's just one more obstacle that we have to overcome as we're doing our budget. Anything else?
It wouldn't increase anything for those. I mean, just general employees would be off and just get paid, so it wouldn't be any different than normal. But for all those who are in sheriff's office, certainly, anybody who had to.
And all that would have to come out, the right treasurer, it all had to come out of the fund balance. Right? Does that mean yes? Okay.
You are correct. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were addressing me. I thought you were talking to Sheriff Fraley.
And just because you don't do it this year, don't mean you can't do it next year. I mean, it is late notice. I just wanted to point it out, especially with the commission meeting being scheduled for that day, whether we're all going to take action or not.
And just as a side note, it would affect next year's budget as well if we were to approve it now, because then it would go into effect and you're going to have to go back in, modify the sheriff's budget, modify the landfill budget, et cetera, for the final approval.
Right. And, you know, like I said, there's no requirement to keep any of them. So, I mean, you could trade it for a different one if it was important to you to honor Juneteenth, but that's your all's decision.
Josh, is this something we can even determine since it's not been on the agenda for this meeting?
Yeah, it was on there under my report, like I said, but it's up to you. You don't have to do anything. I'm just telling you that the law changed, and you all have to decide. I'm not telling you have to. It's up to you. If no motions are made, I assume we're having the meeting on June 19th next month, and employees aren't off. It's simple as it can be.
Madam Chair, I'd like to place a motion that we defer this and any action to this to the next fiscal year.
Okay, motion is made to defer until the next calendar year.
Second.
Okay, I'll call second by Julie Gwynn because I saw her first. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Madam Chair, just one comment. I mean, Juneteenth is an important recognition of, as Attorney Harden said, the Emancipation Proclamation. Certainly, we all recognize the importance of that, ending slavery in this country. But like Commissioner Johnson and others have said, I'm a little hesitant at this point to stack us a little bit more in debt for this particular holiday. I have no disagreement with us considering it for next year.
All right, so we have motion, second. Any more discussion? Okay, please vote on the deferrals.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Okay, so now, in your packet, you have the calendar for the month of June. I am the one who told Glenn to change our meeting to the 20th in anticipation that this holiday might be passed. So we will all need to go in there and change that meeting back to June 19th. It will be on Monday as usual. Attorney Harden, does that conclude your report?
Ma'am, I got one more thing. It is the warranty deed that you all should have got a copy of regarding the transfer of the workforce development complex property to the state. This deed does include the restrictions that were placed in the option agreement that we all reviewed earlier. The one question or concern that I had and that we need to clarify is the reserve easement. I don't know if you all looked at it, but this deed actually reserves unto us a non-exclusive easement for 30 years over the pond and the area right around the pond for use for community events. The concerning part is that this has to be scheduled and cleared through the state, and we are responsible as the county for keeping the area maintained and for insurance on the area. So this is just the pond essentially and the grassy area around the pond. Didn't know if you all wanted the obligation to maintain and insure that for the next 30 years or not. The state's happy to take that out if you all decide you do not, but we need a decision one way or the other.
So you're saying that we have to keep the insurance up on it for 30 years?
If you want the easement to be able to use the pond, yes, we have to maintain insurance and maintain it, mow it, everything that we've been doing for the next 30 years. To my knowledge, basically had a fishing tournament up there once a year, that's about it. If you choose not to have the easement, the pond may go away, that's out of our control. It's state-owned, or it is state-owned either way, just whether or not we can use it. I think the mayor had something.
Yes, Mayor.
I was just gonna place some clarification on probably why they did that. They thought that we held several community functions there and did not want it to be that the TBR was taking it over and taking that away from the community. So they done that to help us. But the only thing that we've had there is that fishing tournament, and this will be TWRA's last year of doing it there. They plan to relocate that because they knew of the impending property transfer. And that is the only thing that we have ever held at that facility. In the past couple of years, I've kind of been in charge of making sure we have a sponsor, getting it set up with TWRA and getting it up and afloat, which I've not minded to do. But once again, if we keep that piece of property, we're gonna have to keep it mowed, which once we turn the property over, we no longer have any income coming in from that property. And that is what's offsetting the mowing contract, and obviously we're gonna have to take out another insurance policy, which is another reoccurring expense that I know we've all are worried about already in the beginning of the new FY. Just wanted to give some clarification on why they included that easement. They thought it was a community area that we utilize a lot for community activities.
Commissioner McIntyre?
Other than the fishing tournament, Attorney Harden, it's been a liability anyway, hadn't it? Had the insurance kind of told us we need to do something with that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been told not to let folks be up there fishing anyway. So, I mean, in my mind, me personally, I'd be happy to see it go. That's my decision. I don't have a vote.
Make a motion that we accept the contract as written, or with the easement removed, sorry.
With the easement removed.
Okay. Motion is to accept the deed with the easement of the pond removed. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Was that Donnie? Oh, Todd. I'm sorry, Todd. Okay, second by Todd Smith. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Aco.
Do we have any idea, and maybe this is a question for the mayor, do we have any idea of what the upkeep of that would be per month?
For the mowing, we currently pay $2,000 a month to keep the facility mowed, and a big portion of it is the pond area.
Quit stocking it with fish, then nobody's gonna wanna fish there anyway, so.
And what's been happening every year, the past 2 years I've been in charge of trying to keep that going, is they stock it on a Wednesday and the community goes down and fishes all the fish out of it. And then when the tournament happens on the Saturday, there's nothing in the pond for the kids to fish out. So it's kind of defeating its purpose.
She's not lying. That's what's happened almost every single year that I've been involved in the tournament up there.
I think it keeps filling up with sludge. I think it's about a foot deep.
Yeah, it's very deep with sludge.
You see, wasn't that an incident about a year ago where an elected official, I don't know, as a commissioner or what, had removed one of the signs that, what was telling them no trespassing or whatever it was?
We've had no fishing signs, no trespassing signs. We still have people pull their vehicles in onto that property and shine their lights to not fish, and then leave all of their trash and everything that they drink and eat laying for my janitor to go up and clean up the next day, every summer. And then they tear the facility up also when they pull their vehicles up on, so have constables that are constantly patrolling, keeping people off that property at night.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I've been located next to this property for 11 years, is where I work. So other than the fishing tournament, I don't see anything other than just people coming by randomly fishing. And they're right, at night, they're there late at night fishing, and they do park their cars all over the place. So I don't know how the state is going to deal with that when it's not in our hands anymore. But that's the only event that I know of that I've seen every year there. It's just that one fishing tournament.
My anticipation is there won't be a pond anymore in the state.
Once the grass starts growing,
You got anything else?
That's a big expense, the pond is, because of, as the engineer over to VA, we had to, under federal order, to pump the lake out, take the sediment out of it and bring back new. And that's been 10, 12 years, and that was over $3 million then, just to treat that. How long you had to go and take the ducks and catch them and take them to the farm. And some of them old veterans had every one of them named, and the director wound up in his office with an old veteran standing in the middle of his desk. Won't know what he'd done with his prize hopper.
Okay.
Across that road.
Okay, vote please on the motion to,
I'll let the state take it.
if you vote yes, it will mean that the state will take the bond. That's what a yes vote means right now.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
That's all I.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Harden. All right, we are now in commissioner comments. Any commissioner like to address us this evening?
I would help you not do this again. I need to open MRI done on my neck. And they have changed the open MRI in Johnson City Medical inpatient home.
The opening more of the inpatient only.
Next closest one is in Green.
Okay. I see a request to speak from Andy Odom.
No dissertation.
Okay, well, I wanted to bring just an update where I do represent the commission on the Board of Health for this commission, and then also on the health and welfare. And as a commissioner, but then just as a person tonight. The concern, of course, has been with the changes at our hospital. We all sat here less than a month ago at a commission meeting when we had a full presentation given to us. And nothing was mentioned to us that there was going to be a change. And 2 days later, we had to learn of that news, or the possible change on the news. Last week, actually 8 days ago, we were told in 2 weeks there would be an announcement. Since that time, I've been trying to do my homework because my phone, my email, work, home, cell, I don't know about your alls, but it has run off the hook. I've tried my best to get answers. I've met with so many. I've heard from a lot of you all because you all have shared that same concern. Of course, I've tried to get other answers from other leaders who said, you know, some said they would wait until it's announced and then they would make their statement. But I can't always wait because every day, I don't just come to a courtroom or an office. Every day, I have families staring me in the eye with needs. Yesterday was Mother's Day. I made it to church and I made it to eat. Then I made it in transporting a young lady to the hospital who was still today, due to the circumstances, having to sit in the ER in the same room that she arrived in yesterday at 4:30. This is an ongoing situation with me. 23 years this has been a concern. Now I've been hearing it from everyone else. Everybody else is saying the same thing. We are a county that we do not have public transportation. Johnson County does not have public transportation. Johnson County, I think, has 4 beds, 2 clinic beds, very little services left in Johnson County. The reason I know of the needs in Johnson County is for 3 years, we put a crisis pregnancy center in Johnson as a center, as my job daily. We started and ran one there because it was one of the highest counties in our state as far as the lowest age of pregnancies, like the ages of the girls. I mean, it's awful population-wise where it was. So that was a need. Well, then as soon as we got that going, then of course we lost our birthing center in 2012. Of course, we heard it, and then there was nothing we could do. And we know it's an end of the business. I get that. I get they are a business that can make their own decisions. At the same time, they are a business that is here to serve the people. And we rely on them. And I love our Sycamore Shoals Hospital. The reason it is so amazing, I went and met with Dwayne in a few minutes. I want him to share in a few minutes, but I met with him. And I said, if you hadn't have done such a good job, I would be mad that something's going away. And that's the truth. To me, it's a difference of going to a mom and pop dinner, you know, to mom and pop little hometown dinner, or going into a big cafeteria where the lines are out the roof and the service isn't good. I feel very proud of the service at our Sycamore Shoals Hospital. There is not always better because you don't always get the personal service that you need. But in saying that, the emails and the phone calls of people that even work there that would love to be standing here sharing, but they're like, but I need my job. I need to pay my electric bill. My kids need food. If I speak up, I might not have a job. In the last 2 weeks, I have visited there, not by choice. One person in my husband's family's had surgery. My mom was taken by EMS. They're from Dino's and spent time in the ER, and then again yesterday with the client. All of those times, I hear the same things from staff. We don't want to lose our hospital. There's too many changes. There's way too much work just on us as individuals. And I've also had the same phone calls from staff in the medical center. And those are the ones saying, don't send us any more patients. We can't take care of the ones that we have. The wait is too long. Now, I know I've heard it from some of you that are sitting in this room, and that is, Ballot's a big company. You should be crazy to go up against Ballot. I'm not against Ballot. I am against the removal of our services. And my heart and my mind is crying out to them saying, help us figure this out. Because it's not about who is on what side. It's about the fact that we're all here to serve the people. Am I right? We are all here. If anyone in this room is not here to serve the people in Carter County, and even had to think 1 second about where you stood upon this hospital, you don't need to be sitting in your seat. Because the people elected you here to represent them. And that's just how I feel about it. And represent the ones that don't have cars. The little grandmas that are sitting at home. Like the little lady that used to walk the 4 lane. You know who I'm talking about. She's not with us anymore. So we'd have to give a ride just to the bank. You know who the ones I'm talking about. The ones that have nobody. We're talking about homeless shelters. We have people with houses that can't even get out, much less the homeless. How are we to serve them? How are we? When you're in Johnson County, just from my center to where my other center used to be, it was 36 miles one way to downtown Mountain City, not counting if you're living out and about. You know, by the time, and we're not just talking about an emergency, because we have a great EMS, but they do not have just all of these vehicles and staff lined up. Because when you took my mother that day, even though she received excellent care, and even in the ER, they brought her picnic, and she thought it was great. They brought her a seat. You still had to wait there. The ambulance did at least 45 minutes before they could leave. If you've got just 1 or 2 ambulances up in Roan Mountain, and they go to take somebody now, if it's not going to be always at Sycamore Shoals, depending the need, and they're going to Johnson City and Bristol, and then you're waiting another 45 minutes, how is that citizen really covered in Roan Mountain? The issue is not just the fact of our ICU. The issue is the fact that it takes our EMS off the roads longer, that puts our citizens in jeopardy. And aside from that, then if we take away ICU, and correct me at any time if I'm wrong, you can no longer have just ventilation, vents. You no longer can have certain sedations. You no longer can have certain, am I correct? You shared this in our health and wealth meeting, certain type of drips and medications or so with diabetics. So then if you don't have those things, then we're going to take away some of our surgeries because you can't do certain high-risk surgeries or surgeries if we can't have vents anymore. So that we're not just talking about the news today crushed me. Because for one, last week, 8 days ago, we were told in 2 weeks. So for one, the first time, the CEO had an opportunity to be straight with us. You can't tell me that news came out 2 days later out of the blue, that it was never discussed. So I felt, as a commissioner sitting here and hearing that presentation, that he wasn't honest with us. that we had to learn as a county, as a commission, and this affected our citizens, that he wasn't truthful, and we had to hear it on the news. And that wasn't a bold, or I should say, a leadership role. He should have looked us in the eye and been honest with us. So then, when we heard 2 weeks later, it was only 2 days. Just so happens it's right before a meeting today, too, that it was announced. Right before people were going to come and speak, and then I got phone calls. No point in me sharing, ICU's already closed. Right before a meeting that all of this came out. And it could be a coincidence, but I don't think so. My heart is crushed because of the fact that at that meeting, I brought up the transportation issue. And the CEO said, I want to get with you on that transportation issue. Now, I will have to say, Lisa Carter did call me. She is going to come to the center. And it's not that I don't want to talk about that. But what bothers me is I've been around for 23 years. Why hasn't Ballot Health already came? Why did it take me speaking out about our services before that invitation was given? And I hope that I'm just being a transparent person. And I believe in being transparent because I'm standing here as a voice for people of this community. And when we look at you all, not all stories have happy endings. Not all people walk out of that hospital. Some don't. And I don't want it to be on my shoulders that someone's family dies in this community because I didn't speak up for this hospital. Because I didn't speak up for the services that we need. I don't know how it can work out online, but I don't feel like it's something that we can just juggle and pick a service and say, well, they took that, but at least we got this. Because when you said it's critical care, it is critical care. And critical care can happen in a moment, just like I received a letter just sitting here from the Carter County Farm Bureau because they're in support of keeping the service. Why that's important? Critical care with a tractor issue. You might not get to go there because you could already be about 40 miles out. You might not can make it all the way to Johnson City. But then there's the next step. What about your family that's got to go there? What about these little people when their families are in the hospital and they're sitting there, then they got to go back and forth and drive. Do you think they can afford 40 miles one way? 100 miles a day in gas and cars when they're hitching rides? I have a little lady coming to volunteer in the morning who can set up NetTrans. She's paying $6 just to come from the other end of town to right here in the industrial park to volunteer tomorrow. And of course, she might get there, but I'm going to drive her home and work it out. NetTrans is not free either. That's great. There's a service. You got it on in advance, but when you have an emergency, you can't set up a NetTrans. So we have a transportation issue. And because of this situation now that we've heard today, aside from the people that's going to need care, we need your help then. Because now this puts us and our citizens more at risk. Puts a lot more work on our EMS that we're already trying to fund just to get them up to where we need to be before we've heard this news. And now we're even at a different place where we even have more of a need. Where is that funding going to come from? How are we going to get more people on the road? How are we going to work on getting them in and out of that hospital quicker so that our roads and our neighborhoods and our homes are more covered? How's that going to happen? I would like to know, how are we going to tell this little lady, well, your husband's doing fine, even though you can't afford to go back and forth to the hospital and don't have a way, because now you can't just hitch a ride just a few miles down the road to our own hospital. And it makes no sense to me. But why? We have 2 counties. We have the last hospital out of 2 counties, but we have 2 hospitals in 1 county. And you can say there's specialty, you can say there's this and that. And there's reasons. But if we would focus on these hospitals a little more in these towns, you would find out you're covered up. You would be covered up with more if we would actually focus on our counties and help us already work out transportation issues, help us already help our rescue squads not get diverted. Last night, sitting in the room with a patient because she had no other family there with her, I got to hear the nurses say over and over, we're having to divert that patient in our own hospital. I'm not telling you this from somebody else. I was present. And that is sad. That saddens me to think that we are trying to move up and all of these other things from, I don't know, bringing recreation in. That's going to be good when they get hurt and we can't even take them. All these rescues that you've told us that are very life-risking, you risk your life. It could be you, not just the person you're rescuing. Well, that's great. We got all these things, but don't get hurt because you can't get to the hospital because we don't have the services. Make sure it's simple. Make sure it's simple things. What about also all of our nursing homes and all the transport? I've had to already be that way before. I've already had to take a client in vegetative state back and forth to the ER numerous times. And I was blessed that our hospital could handle her because it was tough in the condition that she was in. And I couldn't leave her. This is real, guys, because I'm telling you with all my heart and my mind. And the other part that breaks my heart today is the nurses that's had to hear that their jobs are gone. That when I seen them over the last few weeks, they looked me in the eye and they'd say, I've been here 21 years. I've been here this many years. Please help me keep my job. Now they can say there's still going to be a job somewhere. Maybe if they drive to another town. That makes a difference to them. You don't know their circumstances. Can they drive to another town? Do they have the resources to do that? Do they have the extra money to do that? I know they make a little more in Johnson City than Carter County, so maybe that would help with their gas. But I'm telling you, we need as a body of commissioners to agree. We might not can change their mind on our ICU. But all I've heard today on emails is there's just a few people that are against this. That was straight from the CEO's email that I got today. There's just a few people concerned and not happy with this, and it's only because the misunderstanding that's going around was actually the sin. There's no misunderstanding in what's on the news tonight. Our ICU is closing on June 4th. There's not a misunderstanding in that. Now, I don't know about you all, but I wish that before this was done, instead of giving that 45-minute presentation, I still have no idea what was the point in, but he would have brought this issue up and got our thoughts and talked to us and got our ideas about possibly what we could have thought of as a body to reach out and work with the hospital instead of immediately them telling us what goes well. I thought that's how people work together, if we discuss things together. So as a body, I don't know what you want to do, but I will tell you what I want to do. And that is on June 12th, there is a COPA meeting, and it's going to be in Blumpville. This is not just because of our ICU. This is their yearly review with Ballot. Am I correct on that? No, June 12th. If you don't know, I have the email. It came out on media release from the Board of Health. It is Northeast Community College and the Arts Center. It was sent to us by the Board of Health, and I shared it with all of you all on the email on the media release. That is the COPA review. This is a time that our citizens, or even us, can share with them whether we feel that the needs have been met with our citizens or any of the other concerns that they may have. All I want to say to them is before these changes all of a sudden just boom, go out there. If it's going to be 2 weeks, then give us 2 weeks. It's only been 8 days. What if we wanted to come to you with some ideas and then everybody just rushes and makes these decisions? Make your word stand for something, because our word didn't feel like it. When the CEO was here, his word didn't seem like it 2 days later when he was on the news. And then 2 weeks ago when it was 8 days ago, when you say 2 weeks, we'll make an announcement. It's only been 8 days. And I guess it's fun to just spontaneously drop news, but this affects the lives of everyone. So I will be at that meeting. And if there's any other meetings that come up between now and then, which it's still up in the air, if there's any meetings that would require a trip to Nashville on the 6th or the 7th of June, I will be there. It's not to just badmouth Ballot. is to speak up for the citizens that need these services and say, how can we make this work? And so I want to make that clear. I'm not just out bad-mouthing ballad. I'm stating facts of what we need and what now has been taken away. And that is the whole point of any petitions that any citizen wanted to sign, because they're asking, what can I do? How can my voice be heard? And all I can say is, you want to write down your name, your information, I'll be glad to say, this citizen said this is a need and it matters to them. And that's what we're supposed to do, is be their voice. So if this body would want to do something as a whole body to state to ballot, this is not good for us. We need these services. If work with us, help us come up with a plan, help us meet the needs of our citizens, then we need to let them know that, because right now our email has been, there's just a few of us that feel that way, is what I got today. And we need your voices. When I go to these meetings, I don't care to say, I'm not ever going to speak for you. I know in this room right now, and I'll say it because they told me, I know that Nancy Brown has been nonstop working on this. Julie Gwynn also sent out things. Todd, Donnie, Lisa Childress, I've heard from you all. You all have been very concerned about this. I know ACAP, we have talked. We none have an answer, but we have to try to work together for the sake of everybody. Because you know what, guys? Wait till it's your family member, like it was just mine. Okay? Wait until you get that phone call like I got yesterday. Then you're going to say, where's our services? Why isn't the rescue squad here fast? And you don't always have a lot of time. So does anybody in here have questions? Because I know Nancy Brown has something in a minute if the chair was to recognize. And then I would like to end in saying, I would like Dwayne to have an opportunity after I'm done if he would like to answer anything that I've said or have anything to share. I don't know if it works that way, but I'm done unless anybody has a question for me.
I would like to move on, Commissioner Odom. We've got two other commissioners that want to speak, and I would like for that to happen next. So Commissioner Todd Smith, you have the floor.
One of the concerns I have can be echoed by Angie. I've lived in this community with the exception of just a very small time when I was in the Marine Corps. I was born here, I was raised here. I've seen the hospital small. I've seen the hospital in a larger fashion. My mother worked at that hospital for almost 30 years before she retired. And that was the old Carter County Memorial. Yes, I understand that's not the same hospital that Ballard owns. It's went through a couple of hands since then, I get that. But I'm not only concerned for what I see for the people in the 6th District. And let me say this when I say the 6th District. Commissioner Donnie, how long does it take you to get here to a commission meeting?
It takes me 40 minutes.
40 minutes. How far do you drive?
I drive 30 miles.
30 miles to come from where he comes to these meetings to be at these meetings. That's that much further that someone in critical care is going to have to go in order to receive the treatment needed. If they can't be seen by an internist down here at Sycamore Shoals, that's another 10 miles over to Johnson City Medical Center. And unfortunately, I can say I've been in the back of those ambulances and had to make that extra trip before. It is not a fun time. It's not fun to hear somebody say we're going to have to pass this one by and we're going over. They can't help you here. I've been in those seats. I've heard from person after person, state commissioners, and my concerns echoes Angie's 110%. We are in a situation now where we're trying to build our county up to make it bigger than we ever imagined, to allow us to do things that are beyond what we even continue to go. You cannot do that without the proper healthcare facilities in your county. It's just not going to happen. You think corporations want to move here when you're looking at going an extra 10 miles for ICU care? Absolutely not. Are you going to build a $2 million house on the lake if you have to drive another 10 miles to get treatment if the situation requires it? Absolutely not. And my job as a commissioner is not to do the very minimum required of me. My job as commissioner is to do what I would expect my commissioner to do. I would expect my commissioner to stand up and say, this is not right. This is not looking out for my constituents in the 6th district. This is not watching out for the constituents in all these districts. This is overlooking our concerns, which first of all, we never even had a chance to express to no one, because again, it was kind of swept under the rug last month when Mr. Levine came in and patted himself on the back for 30 minutes and walked on out without even mentioning this. I was extremely upset when that happened, but was I surprised? Not one little bit. That speaks volumes. Please, if you can help in any way, form, or fashion, please, let's bond together as a group and let's see if we can't do something to keep this from going any further. Because it's not going to stop at the ICU. And I don't care what any person tells you from Valley right now. It will not stop the ICU. We thought it would stop at obstetrics. Did it? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Donnie Cagle.
I certainly agree with Angie. And it's service we're losing. It's healthcare we're losing. We don't need to lose any more healthcare. We don't need to transport our elderly farther than they need to go. I have been in both emergency rooms, 3 emergency rooms. I've been at Sycamore Shoals. I've been at Johnson City Medical Center. I've been in Franklin Wood. It takes me a longer time to get to either one of those. I live just as far east in Carter County as you could get. And it takes me from my house 30 minutes to get here, and that's breaking the speed. I don't need to break the speed limit around Watauga Lake, or I'll end up in the lake. The rescue squad folks is here, they can tell you that too. They've been on that road. We need to band together as a commission. It may not do us a bit of good to voice our opinion, but at least we'll know, we will let our residents of this county know that we are concerned, and we are concerned about healthcare and about the quality of healthcare in this county. All of us as commissioners, we were elected to work for our people. We was not elected to make a name for ourselves. We was elected to work for the people. And that's what we should do. I'm a new commissioner. I'm like Todd. We were elected to serve the people, not to sit on our hands, but we were elected to voice our opinion. Whether it'll do any good or not, we at least show our support for our residents.
Thank you, Commissioners. Nancy Brown has also put in a request to speak. It may not be showing on the screen, everybody, but I am receiving a request to speak.
I can't send one.
Okay,
Pardon me?
thank you.
I can't send one.
Okay, well then just raise your hand.
On average, for a patient that isn't urgent, how long does it take to get a bed at Johnson City Medical Center from community facilities? All right, what does this mean for surgeries? Because we service a lot of surgeries that could potentially need higher levels of post-op and unknown. All right, what's the infectious rates at Sycamore Shoals Hospital versus JCMC? This is important for our surgery patients. How does this affect providers such as pulmonary and cardiology? All right, what is the plan for the ER when they are full of PCU, ICU, and physicians hold all the top of the regular ER patients? Closing ICU is one thing, but closing PCU will be detrimental for the community. And through our ICU is only 8 beds. The 8 beds that would be straggled to get transferred to Johnson City Medical Center. Ballard lost $17.6 billion in the first quarter because of their traveling nurses. But still, Mark Levine got $1.5 billion in bonus. ETSU was funded 6.2 million, 4.5 million, which totaled out to 10.8 million. I have been told if they have this little concern for our hospital, this community just sell us. This came from Yours nurses today. They are so aggravated. They're being put out to the fields and forgot. We have a hospital that cares here. And I intend to fight for it, for everything in me, because we don't need to lose our hospital. What would we have done without that hospital ICU during COVID? Look back. How many lives did it save? You have to have a chart somewhere. You need to be thanking these nurses, not doing them like this. This is a shame. Please don't do this to us.
Commissioner Danny Field.
Yeah, I've just got a few things I'd like to say. I'm disappointed with Ballard for taking away the intensive care unit at Sycamore Shoals. The people in this region, they deserve that. And I like Mr. Knighteffer said, his loss of services, 21 miles from Blue Springs, and then we hear Mr. Cable comes 30 miles. So I've heard all the studies of the financial end of it, but I've not heard anything on the mortality rate of it. What's the mortality rate going to be when somebody's traveling 30 miles more? Has there been any study done on that, on the different instances that could happen? We all have family members, we all have friends. We represent the residents of this county. And I think that the residents of this county deserve an intensive care unit if needed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sorry, Ms. Lisa.
As I stand here, I want to concur with all the commissioner comments that we've just heard. Carter County is on an upscale growth. We are actively advertising for economic growth. We're looking for industries to come in. We are looking at keeping our students here. Look at the TCAT. Look at all the work that the mayor's done to get people to come to Carter County. So we are going to have a growth. We may not be able, according to their statistical data, which maybe that came from an independent study, I don't know. Maybe it was an in-house study that you did. And right now, they may be able to justify no ICU continuously, but we are going to continue to grow. And from an economic standpoint, I want to see Carter County grow. I want to see the population grow. I want to see our young people stay in this county. And to do that, we have to offer services. And one of the first and foremost service would be to have the medical care that we need, including an ICU unit. And I agree with the other commissioners. I will stand until I can't stand anymore and fight for this county and what these citizens need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to invite a member of the ballot team, or specifically Wayne Taylor, since NGO calling him by name. And I just want to say for the record that Wayne Taylor is a pillar of our community and has been for 50 plus years. I hope you don't mind me saying the number. And his membership in this community existed long before his wonderful dog with Ballot. Wayne Taylor, welcome and thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you guys for letting us come to respond to this. I've got a bunch of folks that I work with over there that can come up to answer more detailed questions. Clinical question, we have a physician, we have a corporate representation, so I have a lot of folks over there. First thing I'd say is Ballot isn't some company that you don't know. Ballot is Dwayne Taylor. I went to Unaka High School, lived in the community all my life, hope to retire here. Lisa Carter, Lisa went to Happy Valley High School, Eric Deaton, Happy Valley High School. So Ballot isn't some corporation that's from 1,000 miles away. It's all of us doing as best as we can to make decisions to take care of you and to take care of my family. I have a family member in the hospital right now. And so the decisions we make, we don't just make them. We're not looking to make a decision for the almighty dollar. We're not looking to make a decision to hurt anyone or to put you in their heels. You deserve better than that. Our community, your constituents deserve far better than that. So I want you to know the decisions that we make, we put a lot of thought and time and effort into weighing the alternatives. There's nobody sitting over there in the Ballard row. We have a whole row. Nobody wanted to make this decision, but given where we are, I'm absolutely convinced it was the best decision. Not because we wanted to do it, but because COVID fundamentally changed things. A lot of you guys are business owners. You're out there, you know the difficulty recruiting staff. We have a very difficult time recruiting nurses. A lot of nurses got out of healthcare because of COVID. They found jobs working from home. They found jobs working somewhere else out of healthcare where they're not on the front line. Because and there's a lot. I made really good notes, but I don't think Ginger would give me enough time to address all of those. But the order of things that we did today, it was very purposeful because I wanted to get in front of my ICU team. I wanted to get in front of them and talk to them. Because in this digital age, you can't beat a text message. You can't beat the people on Facebook that are trying to tear us apart. And that's not what I want to do. We're a small community. We're a great community, and we need to pull together. I don't see this as a decision that ought to divide us. And I don't see it, even though we're closing the ICU, we're actually consolidating services to Johnson City Medical Center. So pretend for a second that you're valid and you're forced with making this decision. You can't find enough clinical staff to staff all the open positions you have post-Valley. You can't find the staff. Johnson City Medical Center has an ICU staffed by intensivists. They're in the hospital all the time. They have, I think, every single specialty there is. And we do, even though we have an ICU, and we do a heck of a good job. The clinical team at Sycamore Shoals, I put them up against anybody in the country. They are outstanding. And the dedication that they've shown, it'll bring a tear to your eye to hear what all they've done for our patients. They're hardworking people, which is why I wanted to get in front of them today and talk to them before they heard anything on Facebook or read anything. Every single one of my team is going to have a job. If every single one of them wants to work at Sycamore Shoals, I have a nursing job for them. That's how difficult staffing is. So they can all stay and work at Sycamore Shoals. Hope they everyone do. But what I told them in that meeting, I want them to make whatever decision is best for them, because some of them went to school and they want to be an ICU nurse. They want to be a PCU nurse. If they want to do that, there's room for them at JCMC or other Ballard hospitals. Some of them commute and drive from other Ballard hospital service area. They may choose to work there. So all those team members are going to be taken care of. They all have to make that decision what they want to do. But make no mistake, the people that need emergent care, the gentleman that spoke in public comments, the emergency department isn't changing. The emergency department's there 24/7, staffed the same as it's always been. So driving from wherever you're driving from, that isn't going to change. Even the emergency department will get you, they'll treat you, they'll stabilize you. Hopefully you'll be well enough to go home and they can release you. If you need to be put in the hospital, there's a pretty good chance we're going to be able to take care of you at Sycamore Shoals. If you can't be taken care of at Sycamore Shoals, we'll transfer you expeditiously to Johnson City Medical Center. I think what's happening right now are people, I think there's some people that aren't well-intended, that are saying things they know aren't true. And I think that other people who are well-intended are thinking about all the things that absolutely could happen, worst case scenario. We need to have, I guess I'm asking you to have some faith in me, and I'm asking you to put some faith in Ballard, that we wouldn't make the wrong decision for this community. I care, Ballard cares greatly about the community. We did not make the decision lightly. And so I'll I don't know, should I pause? What should I do?
What I would like to do, if you're willing to be in the hot seat, is I would like you to stay there and let's see if any of them have a specific question for you. Is that
Absolutely, more than happy to do that.
Okay. Aaron Fraser.
What is the average annual savings that you're looking at by closing the ICU at Sycamore Shoals?
Honestly, I have no idea. It isn't about money for us. I mean, it really isn't. Now, that's a factor in there, but what it is about us, we want to make sure that we're caring for the patient the way they deserve to be cared for. We don't want to have, I've had people ask me, well, couldn't we hire more travelers, Dwayne? And you could, you could keep the hospital loaded up with travel nurses, but then they turn over after their assignment. They come in, they don't know our physicians. You got to get them up to speed. They learn the physicians and then boom, they're off to another assignment. And it's a revolving door. And that's no way to go forward with this. So I honestly don't know the savings. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, and if you'll bear with me, Chair, by and large, many of the folks that worked in the ICU were repeat offenders. They were people that had worked there for many, many years. Just because you're closing the ICU here does not mean that they're going to want to go to Johnson City. They're going to find a job somewhere else. So you're just further diluting the pool of nurses that you already don't have. And the reason, by and large, that I'm 100% aware of is the reason that Ballot isn't able to keep nurses is because the way the nurses are treated in Ballot Health, because they don't have any competition anymore to go back and forth between Mountain States or Wellmont. Now, best intention of allowing that merger to go through aside, your pool of nurses is going away because you're competing against a industry will pay way more than what you're able to pay for nurses. So your problem is not going to get better just by closing the ICU and removing the nurses that are there into a different pool. Because telehealth nurses make $50 to $75 an hour as an RN and get a $2,000 and $3,000 sign-on bonus whenever they fire in. And if anybody would like to know, I can hook you up with somebody that can get you into those jobs. The problem here is that it is entirely monetary, because the nurses down here probably aren't going to go, most of them aren't going to go to Med Center or to Franklin Woods or something like that. The bottom line is it is monetary, because in decisions where you're already in a business that's losing money, you're looking to cut costs. This is the first step in probably a 6-month or year-long process to completely closing Sycamore Shoals. It's what the Dog and Pony Show from last month was for, because that was all that was one gigantic corporate speak for, we're getting ready to do something nasty, but we're going to tell you how cool we are first. So I understand where you're coming from, and I believe that you're sincere, and I believe that you're doing what you feel is the best. But by and large, you've got a PR problem in this area because nobody trusts Ballot Health. I worked in the ICU down there, and I know how dedicated those nurses are, and I know how hard they work. And I worked in there for about 1.5 years. My sister worked for Ballot Health for many, many years, was director of nursing on the 3rd floor down there for a long time. I know how generally that hospital operates. It's a family. You start cutting out pieces of the family, you've already cut out one piece. When you cut out the ICU, I understand that many of the patients that come out of surgery go to the ICU. So what you're doing is you're removing many of those patients that would normally go to an ICU after a surgery from those surgeries being able to be performed there, which is again going to continue to draw down the number of patients that can go through that hospital. Right now, 90% of the people feel that the ER is nothing more than a stopping place before it goes over to the med center. And even then, whenever you get over to the med center, you sit in the hallway for 4 or 5 hours. That's not what people want. Whenever they go to this hospital, they expect to be treated, and they don't want to be sent to the med center because they have the option, because our ambulance service will take them wherever they want to go. So it's not just a matter of, well, I want to go to Sycamore Shoals or I want to go to the med center, or you automatically deferring everybody to the med center rather than putting them through Sycamore Shoals, as happened a lot during COVID. There's a lot more involved in this, and it really boils down to just the bottom line numbers of how much it costs. So I understand, but the Dog and Pony Show from last week pretty much killed any standing that you have in saying that this is just a decision, because everything has been rushed since then, because you can't get ahead of it. You can't control the narrative. Things are out of your control at this point. I know it's not your control. I'm saying in ballot in general. So I understand where you guys are coming from. All it is, it's basically a monetary decision. But whenever you remove that from down there and somebody dies up here, you're going to have a much bigger PR problem on your hands. Even if you keep 4 beds open, because I understand ICU, generally you have a 1 to 2 patient ratio. You got 1 nurse to 1 or 2 patients. I understand the ratio is pretty high. Sometimes you've got acute care. You got to have a 1-to-1 ratio. Sometimes you have a 0-to-1 ratio when you've got somebody with spinal meningitis or something like that, because you have to garb up and go into that room for that patient. But what's going to happen to the other services that were housed in the ICU, like telemetry and different things like that? If that service is going away as well, because that's where it was housed at, then any of the patients that are going to get sent that are going to need telemetry could get deferred out of there as well, which is going to take away more insurance money out of Sycamore Shoals. I understand the inner workings of a hospital. I actually part of my college career was to go to be hospital administration, and I discovered that I did not want to be part of the healthcare system. I yield.
Okay, someone in that corner, raise your hand. Okay, Ms. Kelly.
Mr. Taylor, I have concerns with the EMS, and I heard you say we will transfer you. You really won't be transferred. It'll be us that'll be paying for it and our local EMS. And that's going to cost us and the taxpayers a lot more money and time. So that right there is my main concern, because if they're transferring to Bristol, then it's going to be a long time before that rescue squad makes it back here, either to transfer another person or to go to an accident. So can you see our concern? Because it really doesn't feel like you all, not particularly you in specific, but it doesn't feel like you're seeing that we will have a problem on our side. And that doesn't go with all other problems, with just EMS. If that's going to cost taxpayers here more money to help fund this problem that we're going to have. Does Ballard look at that? Do they see that? Was that taken into consideration when, this was decided on?
Absolutely.
We're already having trouble getting new people in the rescue squad, to work there to begin with. We'll be short there, like you all will be short like you're short nurses. We're short rescue squad.
We have a great working relationship with Terry and his crew. Work very closely with them, respect the work that they do tremendously. And you're exactly right. When that patient needs to be transferred, it will be Carter County EMS that the burden will accrue to. It's them. The things that we intend on doing to protect Carter County EMS as much as we can, Terry and I talked about that this morning. We want to make sure that the patients coming into Sycamore Shoals are appropriate to Sycamore Shoals. Terry and I will be working on transfer criteria to make sure that the patients coming in aren't taken to Sycamore Shoals if it's a service that we don't have. So we'll do everything that we can to minimize the workload on Terry and his guys, because we recognize they have a tough time recruiting, strapped for labor at times on that.
Okay, Commissioner Brown, I see your hand, but my policy is to let people who haven't spoken yet go first, and Dr. Aco has requested to speak.
Dwayne, thank you for being here. We appreciate your team very much. Appreciate being part of your operation as a board member. I sent you an email, as you know, this afternoon, and certainly echoed many of the concerns that you've heard tonight, particularly heavy on EMS. Thank you for talking back and forth with Terry. And I think the frustration, as I told you during our sidebar conversation during the break, is going forward, one, what else do we lose? Number two, how do we better partner with Ballard so we can be a part of the solutions and represent our constituents there? And again, I want to really underscore how much we appreciate you and what you've done in this community. I mean, I've been on your board for a couple of years now. I know how hard you work. I know how hard your staff works. I know how hard everybody in that hospital works. And as I told you, one of my colleagues, who's an internist in Johnson City, I sent you an email at her insistence that she was in your hospital to be with a lady who was undergoing a lumpectomy. And she couldn't believe the cleanliness. She couldn't believe the friendliness. She couldn't believe how not only her friend was received, but how she was received. And that's an internist that works a job at Johnson City Medical Center. So I think the frustration here for us is, one, there was very little communication. Number two, how can we be a part of that partnership? As I indicated to you, there are other communities that have tried to support and have successfully their community hospitals to make that community hospital successful. I mean, we're, as many of these commissioners have already stated, I mean, we're trying to become an up-and-coming rural community, and we can't do that without healthcare. So what kind of concerns, and I know you're not the only one in COG here, not the only wheel there, but how can we as a community work better with you and Ballard to make some of these decisions and support your all's efforts and improve healthcare in our community?
Great question. I appreciate that very much. Sycamore Shoals does a lot of things. And the only thing that we're talking about here today in the negative context is ICU PCU. All the work, we do a lot of breast cancer cases at Sycamore Shoals. We do a lot of reconstruction at Sycamore Shoals. We do a ton of total joints at Sycamore Shoals. None of those things are changing. What we're really talking about are patients that need the very highest level of care. That's everything else is full speed ahead. What was kind of lost in the press release today, and it's typical, is Ballard isn't going to close Sycamore Shoals. Ballard's made a couple $1 million of investment over the last 18 months. They announced that they're making an investment of nearly $500,000 for 3D mammography. Ballard isn't closing Sycamore Shoals. You know, other rural hospitals across the country are closing. We're not closing. We're doing anything but that. We're growing, and we're just changing as the community and as the external environment changes. We're not immune to those changes. And trust me, if anyone over there on the Valley delegation could snap their fingers and could recruit nurses, could recruit physicians, we probably wouldn't be here having this discussion. But from the way we see the landscape, this is absolutely the best move, the best decision for our residents. It may be 10 miles more. I get that. I get that that's a hardship. I pay for gas too. I get all those things. But trust me when I say this, we did this in the interest of patient care. Now there's a little part of me that would like to pound my chest out of my pride to keep it open, keep it going. But that's not what you want. That's not what our community deserves. Our community doesn't deserve an ICU that's hanging by a thread. What the people that we go to church with, what they deserve is if they're sick and they're critically ill, you want every resource thrown at them. And I can't do that at Sycamore Shoals. All those services are available at Johnson City Medical Center. So, I get the situation's reversed. I'm here and you're there, but I don't see this as that much of a negative because we're ensuring Gary Arnold's help, and Carter County EMS's help, and the great crew in the emergency department, all the clinicians that we still have at Sycamore Shoals. We're going to make sure the person gets the care they need when they need it. The geography is going to be a little bit different, but they're going to get the care they need with every specialist on board, and we won't have to transfer. We also transfer patients today because they got too acutely ill for our ICU, and we're having to transfer historically to JCMC. Some of you probably have loved ones that we've had to do that to. That's not great either. So I wish I could create for you a perfect world where I could keep every service that you want. I really do. But my team members this morning, when I met with them, we had a great meeting. They understand, they get it. They know that this is happening not because they failed. They didn't fail. No one failed in this. You can't change the external environment. You just have to adapt to it. And trust me, we all know that this is absolutely the best decision for our community. We'll do a great job in every single other area. And we'll leverage our friends at JCMC for those few patients that we can't care for that need to be transferred.
Chair, just one follow-up. Dwayne, answer the other question that I had, if you don't mind. How can this commission, this community, work with you and Sycamore Shoals to make things happen for the benefit of our constituents?
The mayor was over during a sidebar as well, talking about the program, the kids that we recognized before the meeting got going. I think there's a lot of opportunities that we can work with this body and the community closer to work on workforce development so that we can have feeder programs for children that would like to get a career in healthcare. I think that would be, I see you're standing up.
I am, and I'll jump in on the conversation since it's kind of went south for the community the past week or so. I would like to have Lisa intertwine with me on the discussions that I have had the past week and a half with Ballot from the top all the way down, how we're going to make Carter County a lot better with the healthcare. We plan to bring TCAT, Northeast State, ETSU in to the table to discuss a partnership and think outside the box on how we can fuse our local hospitals. Not the big hospital, not the med center, Unicoi County, Carter County, and Johnson County. How can we bring our hometown nurses, bring them through the program, put them in our hospitals, incentivize them to stay and work in these hospitals and increase their staff? That's going to be the plan. That's going to be what we want to bring to the table to work with Ballot. Bring educational piece, to also bring an opportunity, what we just seen here today, 32 graduates from the middle college. They're workforce ready, they're post-secondary ready. They're ready to enter the workforce. Why can't I help them and we help them do that for the same side of healthcare? Why can't we develop a program where children are in high school and they're going into these hospitals and they're going to work and be paid and be prepared to be in the hospitals working as nurses or healthcare physicians? Why can we not do that? There's no reason we can't. We've just seen a successful middle college, 32 individuals graduate from Carter County. We're leading the way in that arena. We can do the same thing in healthcare. Lisa and I have discussed it. We've discussed it on and off for the past week on what we can do, and I've been in constant communication with them. And I'll turn it over to Lisa to kind of let her tell how we're going to try to infuse our local hospitals and save our rural hospitals, because I'm like everyone else, and I thank the commission for what they're doing and the support that we're getting for this. I've been in constant communication with Lisa, several meetings. I've met with them, I've discussed with them, we've emailed, there's phone calls, and they are wanting to work with Carter County. We want to make Sycamore Shoals a great hospital, and I believe we can change the conversation and bring back what we may be losing. I truly believe that. If this commission will trust me and allow me to work with this team that I'm going to put together, I will show you that Northeast Tennessee, we will save and make our rural hospitals even better. I can make you that promise. I've made these promises before. I've made them here. We have, I brought almost $54 million into Carter County in the past 2.5 years. I could not have done it without this commission. So I'm asking for you all to allow me to partner with Ballot to bring a team together to save and make our hospitals even better, and to help Dwayne everything that he needs in Sycamore Shoals.
So we've talked, and it is also, when I think about it, it's also Unicoi County and Johnson County, because the hospitals that a lot of the state congressional districts serve are these Upper East Tennessee rural hospitals. And actually, the administrator of Unicoi County had an idea. She was like, how could we partner with some of our community colleges to bring people in, to be the training ground, to be the clinical sites, to have a commitment from them for X amount of service area or X amount of service time, to where then they would serve their communities in those positions. Then if they certainly want to move to a higher level of acuity patient in a tertiary hospital, we could then get them there and bring in a new class to serve the community. And we talked a lot about nurses, but we've not talked about respiratory therapists, and we've not talked about x-ray techs, and we've not talked about those positions too. It's the full gamut of services that we're lacking, and we're lacking people who are entering the workforce in those areas. And the mayor is doing tremendous work. I mean, this program, she just introduced it to me just a couple of weeks ago. This is amazing, of people who are committed to education, kids who really are committed to their studies and to working. What a tremendous way to get students into workforce even sooner. And so developing healthcare programs with Northeast State, with TCAT and all of those institutions is something that we're extremely interested in. I reached out to a physician who oversees our academics and research for the health system, and he's working on some grants to do the exact same thing. So having a county to partner with is vitally important and a very significant first step. So I appreciate the mayor bringing these ideas to us. And what we say continually is we can't continue to do the same things that we've done in the past. We have a different workforce, we have different pressures, we have a different environment we're faced with. So coming up with some innovative ways to train the workforce for the future are things that we're all going to have to answer.
Yes, ma'am. Nancy Brown. Okay. All right, I just have 3 questions. And one of them was, I seen graduation from ETSU a couple of weeks ago, well, about 2 weeks ago. Anyways, I seen where they had interviewed a student that had some medical background and graduated and all, and literally they didn't think that it was going to be that easy getting into the workforce because of Allen needed people that already had experience. That was one. And then Al Levine done a follow-up to it. Well, I mean, it's hard for our kids that's just graduating to get firsthand job, you know, when they ain't got experience.
We hire kids fresh out of college every single day, so I can't speak to why that student said that, but we hire students all the time, and we'd be more than happy to recruit them.
Okay. Well, the other thing that, do you know what your plan is for Sycamore Shoals?
Well, I mean,
I know you said the diagnostic center, but
everything at Sycamore Shoals, all the great things that we've been doing, you know, general surgery, GYN surgery, total joint surgery, breast surgery, every single thing that we've been doing, there's no plans to stop doing that. We're going to continue doing everything. The only thing that we announced today, we're going to invest in a new 3D digital mammo, right? We're going to make nearly $500,000 investment for that will help aid in the detection of breast cancer earlier. So we're going to do that. That will only enhance our breast program that we already have going. We have a lot of physicians and a lot of momentum with that. It's full speed ahead with our total joints. It's full speed ahead with general surgery. It's really just it's just that one area of the hospital that we just feel like it's in everybody's best interest, mostly the patient, that given where the landscape is right now, again, not saying anything negative about my staff, great working staff, high competency. We just have more physician specialties at JCMC, and they have an intensivist model that's frankly better than our model.
okay. Well, my last thing was I was just going through your letter that you sent out to your employees today that said that Jens would be getting the outpatient diagnostic and in the next couple of months, and behavioral health.
I think that part of our communication with our
service.
I think that
Sycamore Shoals is coming in months, in the coming months. So I guess we're giving up our ICU for behavioral health.
No, I think you may be misinterpreting that. What we're talking about is all those services continue. Now, one thing on the behavioral health side that we did announce in there today is, you know, Ballard, in addition to owning a hospital in the community, they also are financially responsible for employ a lot of our primary care physicians in town. And we're going to put some behavioral health psychiatry support in those practices to give our physicians and our patients that have behavioral health needs greater access for those services. So, but in terms of inside the hospital, there's really no change to behavioral health. We have a 12-bed geriatric psych unit in the hospital that's been there for a number of years. They do a fantastic job in that space, huge need. And it may, you know, who knows, that may be something as the community changes. that may be an opportunity for us to grow in the future, but we didn't announce anything about that today.
Really? I got a letter. But that's okay. I'll just hold it for now.
Commissioner Gill.
Yes, Mr. Taylor, I'm concerned about, Mr. Levine was here April the 17th, and he stated when Commissioner Brown asked him about the wages at Sycamore Shoals, and he said, yes, they make less. So with Mayor Woodby saying that getting this nursing school going, if we're paying less at Sycamore Shoals, those nursing students aren't going to go for less. They're going to go where they'll be paid. So you're fully staffed in Johnson City, and I wish he was here because we've got a lot of questions that he could answer about the financial ends of it and then the moving around of people. But his statement was, you know, in Johnson City, you've got better care over there, you've got nurses. So when you shut your ICU down, you're going to ask the taxpayers to not only fund our rescue squad, you're going to ask them to bear that, and then they're not going to have the intensive care service. Their children are going to go to school, and then they're going to go away for jobs that pay better. So that's a problem I have. I mean, if we're going to send them, if we're going to work together and have a school, then we should have the competitive wages at our local hospital to be built back up to provide the services for the residents here in Carter County.
Yeah, Mr. Levine kind of spoke to the difference in wages last time. I mean, that's probably just a point that we'll have to agree to disagree on. Ballot, with their limited resources, has made a decision that it's critical to staff those large hospitals so that we can transfer patients when they're most acutely ill. And I've already said that I would bet you 3/4 of the nurses will elect to stay at Sycamore Shoals. So not everyone is willing to chase the dollar. Some people will stay at a smaller location because they like the feel, they like the patients, they like being closer in their community. Others will go for the dollar. So, you know, it's not my goal to really force anyone to do anything, much as Mr. Levine said the last time. For those team members that want that opportunity has been there for months and months, and they haven't divorced me in huge numbers. They're at Sycamore Shoals, they're working. I think they're largely content. We would all like to make more money, I'm sure, but I don't think that the wage disparity is near the issue that you might think it is.
Okay, Commission, I have requests to speak from Cody McQueen and Angie Odom, and I would also like to ask some questions. If, we're still going after those 3 people out the floor, then I'm gonna call for a 5-minute break. And then we can pick back up after that. So I just wanna let you all know what my thoughts are. And of course, I'm open to your all suggestions at any time. So Cody McQueen, you have the floor, sir.
First, I'd like to say you're a great spokesman for your company. I think you are a man of character, and that's why you were selected to be here tonight. Obviously shown that you won't alter under any line of questioning. You are unflappable. So let me say that with the greatest confidence, that I expect from those qualities that you will take our message back to ballot when addressing some of these things. So I've listened to the points that you've made, that it was external circumstances that kind of dictate the internal controls. Internal controls are always, under those circumstances, it's the management of those things and the investments in those positions that make a difference. So I'm delighted to hear that you'll be working with the mayor to try to fill these positions. Obviously, we'll support our local hospital yourself with all of these things. I will say, and echo the sentiments of our citizens that are behind the fear and anger of this, is that we only hear about what modifications and things that are moving forward that we'll be doing to fix things after it's broken. Once the birthing unit is shut down, here's what we're going to do. Now the ICU is shut down, here's what we're going to do. That money can be invested, and it muddles the message when executives get paid such egregious amounts of money, and then you boast 1.7 to 1.8 million investment in your hospital, when that is right on par with what executives make in bonuses. It's shameful to me that they can't invest the confidence that I'll invest in you as a person and as a beacon of our community in your hospital with that money instead. I understand it's the lay of the land. It is the corporate world in which we live. But I support you and I support our hospital. I do think the strategic planning of it, and I hope you'll take that back to ballot, is where the money should be invested. It should be invested in the people, and it should be invested in what you're doing and a model that obviously works. You've addressed that it's staffing shortages, specialists, and the men and women that put all this time in, and they just, for whatever reason, they trickle down the system, they go to other hospitals, they come out of the field for whatever reason. So I hope that, and it is truly my prayer that we can get ahead of it and not only react after that. The legislative body, 14 to 18, when I was here, I never heard that Sycamore Shoals or Ballot, either one, came to us for any request for money. They didn't come to us with a request for anything that we could do. It was only after the fact that we learned of anything. We want to be proactive. I can tell you want to be proactive when you showed up. Your messaging, all of your points, all of your timetables suggest that you want to be proactive. You obviously adjusted those accordingly. You're here tonight to help solve a problem as we were trying to help solve as well. So I'm asking you to please take the ballot that we get ahead of things and not be reactive to things that can't be changed.
Great points. Thank you for that, and I will absolutely. Yes.
Okay, and then I'd like to ask some questions, and then Angie will kind of give you names. I noticed this week in looking at, I started on the Sycamore Shoals website, and I clicked on nursing because the message I was getting was that it was the closure of the ICU was due to staffing. When I clicked on nurses, it took me to a ballot page, not just the Sycamore Shoals page. On that page, I discovered that there are sign-on bonuses specifically for nurses that will go to private hospitals. And, my thoughts are, how would we ever staff Sycamore Shoals when a nurse is choosing between, I'll go to a large hospital for $10,000, or I'll go to Sycamore Shoals for no bonus?
I can actually speak to that if you'd like, Dwayne. I'm Morgan May. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer for the Southern Region. I actually started as a brand new nurse at Sycamore Shoals. I'm not from here, stayed in the community. I still do surgery at Sycamore Shoals for the services they offer, and I live in Johnson City. But to answer your question about sign-on bonuses, we offer a sign-on bonus at Sycamore Shoals. It's very strategic in how we do it across the system. It's only available for med-surg and night shift positions. We did pull in some PCU as well because those are your hardest to recruit to areas generally, typically because they have higher patient ratios and those types of things. People tend to go to the environments such as the OR, ER, those types of things. So it is available as Sycamore Shoals for night shift, just like it is at every hospital.
Is it the same?
Yes, it's the same dollar amount for a night shift position.
Okay, and then I was told that your data shows that people from Johnson County and the far regions of Carter County are already going to Johnson City for emergent care and other things. But, my point is that I chose Sycamore Shoals years ago when I had a gallbladder surgery and another surgery that I can't think of. I went to Sycamore Shoals. And I had very good care there. And I told everybody in the community that we shouldn't necessarily go to Johnson City. We should stay right here in our county. So I had positive experiences. And I would just like to know if you all are looking into it to see that if people are traveling to Johnson City because their physicians won't perform at Sycamore Shoals. Because the last couple of surgeries I've had, I had to go to Johnson City. I wasn't given a choice because my physician would only perform at Franklin Woods or somewhere else. So I don't buy that people don't want to come to Elizabeth. I don't buy that because, as most of you all know, I'm a real estate agent. I'm selling homes and land to people that want to be in Carter County every day. If you've got doctors that you want to help, if you want to use me to help recruit, I'll be glad to do it because I'll take them to our little mom and pop restaurants and I'll take them to Watauga Lake, the third cleanest lake in America. I will show them what's wonderful and good about Carter County. I think I can convince them to live here in Market City, Marshall's. So that's a statement. And I would like for you all to consider more outpatient services, besides the ones that you currently offer. You know, one of which I had hernia surgery recently. I had shoulder surgery. I've had a lot of surgery, but, you know, I'd like to see that kind of stuff brought here in addition to the 3D mammography that you're now offering, and some other things, you know. And that's my comments and questions.
Well, I need to get you on my board because I think that's exactly the way I look at this too. I'm a glass half full person. And again, I don't see this as a massive negative. Both my parents are alive. If they need to be hospitalized, I have every confidence. Terry will get them to Sycamore Shoals. We'll do a great job. If we can't take care of them there, we'll get them to JCMC. They'll do a great job. But over on the growth side of things, I totally agree with what you said. There's opportunities for Sycamore Shoals to focus on outpatient things. If you do any reading at all about healthcare, more and more of it is leaving the inpatient space, which is what ICU care is, and is moving to the outpatient space. So for hospitals like mine to remain relevant, that's what we need to be doing. The investment that we're making in the mammography services, that's very intentional. We want to keep those patients coming into Sycamore Shoals Hospital. And there's a lot of other things that we need to be focusing on and will be. This isn't the end of the story for Sycamore Shoals. It's just one chapter. But I agree with every single word that you said. A lot of the reasons that you have to get those surgeries in Johnson City has a lot to do. You know, the meeting when Mr. Levine was here, the question about restarting OB was brought up. You know, it's not just the hospital that has to have a willingness to do something. We have to have a willing physician partner. And the physicians don't necessarily want to be doing a surgery at Franklin Woods and then jump over to Sycamore Shoals and do swing by the medical center. More and more of those physicians, because most of them have privileges at a surgery center too. So they don't outreach as much as they used to. And that's just a reality of what we all deal with.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Antioco.
Yeah, just have one other comment. We keep saying though, the ICU, I've heard it, you know, like PICU bonuses. Is there gonna be a PICU? I mean, I know ICU. Are you keeping PCU?
We're consolidating PCU too. It's the way we operate those units, and you and I talked about it in my office. Okay, so in hospitals, there's different levels of service. If you come in and you're not very acutely ill, you would be in what we call a med surg bed. If you're a little bit sicker, we would put you in a progressive care bed. We can monitor you differently. The nurses staff has competencies to manage more things in your care plan. And then ultimately there's ICU, which is the highest level. ICU and PCU look so close together, and the way we run those units as a blended unit, it made no sense to keep both. Or it made no sense to try to keep PCU. I can't separate it. It's the same staff. It's the same people. So, and while you can read that as a negative, I read that as a positive. The only thing I'm going to have to worry about staffing and recruiting is med surg. And we'll be able to take great care of our patients. We'll be able to do a lot of things. It's not like we're going to, we met with the surgeons this morning. Their patient selection process will be somewhat different, but we don't expect a big decrease in the number of surgeries that we're doing at Sycamore Shoals. We really don't. Some patients will have to have their surgery at JCMC because of this. I'm admitting that, but it's not going to be a very big number of patients.
So you're saying there were 8 beds at ICU, so they're gonna be closed. So then there were 13 beds in the PCU.
Yeah, the number, okay.
You're saying they're not gonna be there now.
You're totally correct. And the number of beds a hospital has is so misleading, it's not even funny. Sycamore Shoals Hospital is licensed for 121 beds. That's what our Tennessee state license says, 121 bed. There's never been 121 patients in that hospital. We typically run a census of somewhere in the low 40s to the upper 50s. So to answer your question accurately, that's correct. Those beds will be closed and will be used. It's a little bit of a misnomer to say, because that makes the splash look bigger than it really is.
Then I had one more question, or statement, I guess, for the commission at this point. So the COPA meeting, we've heard what you all have to say, but everybody's got concerns, and that is what the COPA meeting's about, is for the individuals, citizens, us, to take our concerns to that meeting, because they're the ones that then take it with Val and help them work for the people. So in this meeting, I've heard every commission speak, right? We have some education ideas, but I have to ask. I'm going with names, and I'm gonna go and represent the people. But Mayor, will you go and speak at the COPA meeting on behalf of our county?
Yes.
To help us get these services?
I will speak, but I also understand that we do have to try to partner and help the situation that's happening.
I'm not saying we're not gonna help, but will you speak in regards to what the people have?
I plan to be there, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. As I stated, I'm gonna do what I said I'm gonna do. We're gonna call a 5-minute break. 5 minutes.
Thank you.
that what you're saying? Competition for golf. I was real nervous.
I've given us about 10, so. Oh. Okay, are we ready?
Thank you so much.
We got left for pizza.
I'm ready to go.
All right, so the floor is open. I don't have any more requests to speak right now, so Kelly Collins, you go first.
Ms. Taylor, I wanted to say to you, and I didn't say this earlier, and I apologize. I have the utmost respect for you, and I know you don't know me from Adam, but I do know who you are, and I do have the most great deal of respect for you. And I don't know everyone, but I do know several of you all. And like I said, you don't know me from Adam, but I do keep up with some of you all. And I did not want you to think anything other than that. But my concern is with the EMS and response time and actually paying for it.
Absolutely.
That's
No,
what
I
I'm
understand.
clear. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Anything else from anybody? Okay, Commissioner Wynn.
It's not really anything directed at you. It's just the fact that when I went back and did my homework, the Federal Trade Commission was not in favor of a monopoly on this many hospitals. The Tennessee Department of Health had misgivings about this kind of operation. And through one senator who helped get all this stuff going, this actually passed. And now here we are 5 years later, and I hope you're not just blowing smoke up our skirts, to be honest with you. But I hope now, 5 years later, we're not seeing what their misgivings was all about. It does concern me. I work in a field, I'm a wrecker service, I'm a first responder. I work with these guys all the time. I'm less worried about them. I mean, I know that'll a whole lot of their time. I worry about my folks that are gonna go to Sycamore and something may happen while they're there after they've spent 3 hours and then have to move on to Johnson City Med. That's 2 hospital bills. I worry about wrecks on my end of the county and not being able to get them to the med. I listen to the radio. I hear the med center go full diversion on trauma and ER diversion. So where are they gonna go then? If I'm in dire straits and I can't get to the med because they're on full diversion, I would at least like to take my opportunity to get to the closest hospital, which would be Sycamore Shoals. So therein is my problem with everything you're telling us, because what you're telling us and what you're doing does not equal out. And I do not intend to be rude to you. I have a real concern with this. This is what I see. And you said we deal in worst case scenarios. That's what I see as worst case scenarios. So I just wanted to make that very well known. You can do your homework. Tennessee and did a whole lot of articles on it, and I feel like we really need to look at this hard.
Well, I don't think you're being rude at all. I think every one of you have been extremely respectful and nice, and you love the community the same as I love it. It's tough decisions. It's a tough decision. I've said that a couple of times that we'd rather not be making, but I am asking you to trust me a little bit. I am asking you to trust the ballot. I mean, most of these folks are from here and live here. Versus, if we hadn't have, The reason that we merged together was because both hospital systems weren't going to survive eating. I mean, not to go back and revisit all of that, but we have a lot of oversight. We do things the right way, and we're transparent with our decisions. Happy to answer questions, I'm happy to meet with any of you. You can come by my office and we can talk about this more. We really don't have anything to hide. And we don't want you to think the hospital is against, we're not against anyone. We are you and you are us. And we're going to take great care of you. You just need to trust me on this one, because if you need that highest level of care, let Terry get you to Johnson City Medical Center, where you can be taken care of with all those specialties over there. And let's not deny those services to people in Carter County that we love and go to church with. They're just as entitled to get to use those services as the folks that live in Johnson City. It's a great hospital with a great ICU, with a great critical care department. And that's really all we're talking about. And then I can do all the things that Ginger recommended to keep our local hospitals strong and healthy. You know, to keep hospitals open, hospitals can't just do all the things that we want to do. We have to make tough decisions. And this is a tough decision. I mean, I looked in the eyes of some people today and they had tears in their eyes. And I had a few tears in my eyes, but it was the best thing to do. Make tough decisions, keep our hospitals strong, get the patient where they need to be, and swallow just a little bit of pride and belief that that's the right thing. That's where we want our loved one. I worry about a lot of things. I mean, I really do. And I lose sleep at night. This decision doesn't bother me. I don't want you mad at me. I don't want you to lose faith in me or your local hospital. But this is a good decision. It's hurting, but it's the right decision.
Okay, Commissioner Smith, did you want to speak?
I do. Just another remark. We heard about the training that we're hoping to get together in the community to bring more nurses to Ballot to help relieve some of the pressure. We don't need to forget that we have two very solid nursing programs literally in your back door. We have ETSU and we have Milligan College. We tend to forget all about Milligan College, and it's in our county. But they have a very good, not just nursing, but occupational care, respiratory therapy. So they're there as well. Do you concentrate on trying to get those people?
Yes, sir, 100%. As a matter of fact, Milligan University's nursing program rotates through our hospital and some of their clinical training there. We are constantly trying to recruit those nurses. So it's I don't view what we were talking about with the mayor as one or the other, because different kids are turned on by different things. And I think that's maybe be a different population of kids that we can attract into healthcare. I think that they both are important and they all can exist together.
My daughter actually did her clinicals in the ICU at Sycamore Shores.
Did you have a good experience?
She decided something other than nursing.
Okay. That happens.
Okay, did somebody in the back row, Aaron Fraser?
Do you know the percentage of people in Carter County that are over the age of 55?
Not off the top of my, it's a pretty high percentage, but I do not know that off the top of my head, no.
It's greater than 50%, around 55 to 60, depending on which census numbers you look at. That age group accounts for roughly about 25% of all ED visits. And that same amount of population accounts for about 42% of all ICU admissions. We have an aging county here. You're taking away the ICU, where most people in that age group, when they have to visit the ER, are headed to. And that's, all those people are now going to have double bus charges and double hospital charges. And they're also in the group that generally has the worst healthcare insurance. Bear that in mind, because if you've not looked at the statistics of the area of where you're closing the ICU at, you're not looking at the full picture. I said earlier, this is entirely a monetary decision because, as he said, we have two of the best nursing programs in the state at ETSU and at Milligan. People are declining to go into healthcare. Is that because there is a monopoly and the only people that they can work for is Ballard, or because healthcare has become something that they don't want to be a part of?
That's a societal question. Maybe, I don't know. A lot of the students that graduate from those programs are from out of town and choose to go back to their hometowns. But I hear you. Your point's not lost.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Stays here. Everybody opposed?
Thank you, and good night.
Who put that motion in? Meet me down Fred.
You're welcome.
You sent the bill.
Just want you to see it.
I think we had to go into discussion.